Thank you, Randall. I know what that means, that look. I see it from this guy over here, Ted. Okay. We're going to be talking about moral compass. What does that mean? We all know what that means. Yes, sure. Moral compass. It's our guiding beacon. There's something within us. We can call it spirit. We can call it a lot of things. What does it sound like to you? What is that essence that you can hear within yourself? Is it a loud voice? Is it a quiet voice? Is it a subtle lean? Yes, no. I think it's perhaps different for everybody. But I know that I do know that it's there. I see it in little children. When there is something going on with little babies, they have empathy for one another. They show kindness. They cooperate in most ways, especially when they're crying and they're upset. The babies will come over and comfort one another. So I think that we are, in a sense, come in with that adaptive strategy to help one another. It's adaptive. We see it in other mammals. We are mammals, you know. We forget. We think we're the top dog. No, we are nature, and we're wily rascals at it too. So what is that moral compass? It's not a physical thing, no. It's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for our collective values, for our beliefs, and for our experiences. And if you take all of that in, our values, our beliefs, and our experiences, that makes up a moral menu, perhaps, that's within us. Now, do we listen to it when it speaks to us? I know some of you, including myself, don't. There are probably here that always listen, but I am a rascal and I avoid that sometimes. That moral compass tells us right from wrong, from kindness to what's cruel, and it's always there. And the thing of it is, we always listen to it. Whether we follow it is the next question. But it's there. The guidance is there. I know when I'm doing something that is against what I know is right. I know it. And oftentimes I have done it anyway. And the thing that hurts me the most is when I say something that hurts somebody else. And it might be a fib, it might be a lie, it might be a retort, something we should, it's like, it's not kind. And when I say something that's not kind, it's against my moral values. When I say something like that, it's like a little cut. It's like a little cut right in here. And over time, it leaves scar tissue. And I'm no longer as flexible. I start putting myself in a box. Now, what I do know is if I learn from this cut, if I learn from this mistake, like not cutting my arm off like Randall almost did, then there's some value there. It's a teaching experience. So if I say something cruel and I see what happens to the other person, and I see how it feels within me, I can self-correct. I can clean it up. I can get a second chance. And I think that's the most important thing to remember, is that we get second chances. And cleaning it up and falling back into integrity is critical, just critical. So, an example of following your moral compass is when you tell the truth. It might be truth to power. And if you say something, you will get fired from your position. You will be put in trouble. You'll be standing up against a bully. You'll be doing what's correct for you, but there's consequences. And you will do it because it's the right thing to do. That's following the moral compass, and there's consequences for it. And the consequences are you can live with yourself, and you haven't cut yourself, and you haven't moved away from yourself. You have stood in your values, and there's power in that. And this power builds over time. And the more we're authentic, true to ourselves, for me, I don't want to even call it spiritual power, but it's more like connective power to where I know myself and I can trust myself. And that's powerful. That's really powerful. Bob Marley says, the greatness of a person is not in how much wealth they acquire, but it is in their integrity and their ability to positively affect others. So, what's integrity? And that's part of that moral compass, being true to yourself. Integrity, an aspect of greatness, is when you affect others in such a way that they rise above what they think is possible. That you uplift people by your example. And when we follow our inner compass, our inner guidance, we set an example of being congruent with our actions and what our beliefs are. Wouldn't that be nice if that was practiced in churches, where what they speak about is actually carried out into the world and demonstrated in the world? There's a discordance there. So, a simple lie, one simple lie can break trust that has been developed over years and years. It doesn't take much to break that trust. Lance Armstrong, 7 times, you all know Lance. Yeah. Super athlete who thought he needed to do drugs to win at any cost. And he convinced the team to do drugs. And that's one part that's not cool at all or unforgivable. But the most unforgivable part is that he lied to everybody and said that he was clean. I know for those of you raised children, as I have, I would say to them, I don't care what you've done. Just tell me the truth. Tell me the truth. Yes, there'll be consequences, but there'll be greater consequences if I find out that you've lied. And so that was something that I instilled in them. Did they lie? Yes, of course they lied. It's part of learning where the boundaries are. But if we learn from it, that's the important part. And can you clean it up? Yes, that's another important part. And so in college, my roommate was a very clever fellow. He was a machinist. And he made a key that was a master key to the whole school. So he could go and shop at night in the school. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, he would get up and he would wander around from classroom to classroom looking for neat stuff. And one time he found this beautiful camera. Another time he found a slide projector. And another time he found this and that. And so I was a recipient of a slide projector, a tall, beautiful stool to sit on, and a few tools. Now, did I know that those were stolen? Yes. Did I justify it? Oh, yes. well, it's a big school and they won't miss it. And I pay for the taxes. And that's a lie. I knew it was wrong, but I took it anyway. Hmm. And then there was the time when I walked into a shoe store to buy some boots. And there was nobody in the store. The store was wide open. I walked in, I hung out, I found the boots right there and I picked them out, put them on, walked around the store. I was there for 20 minutes. I ended up walking out of the store. I never thought that there could have been something wrong with the person. Maybe he had a heart attack in the back, maybe something bad, maybe he was being held captive. I was just thinking about me. It's not cool, not cool at all. And so years later, I had the opportunity to clean all of that up. But before I get to that, at the time, I knew smoking dope wasn't a good thing, but I loved it. And I would use it and justify it by using it for spiritual advancement. This was in the early 70s. And so I would smoke dope, light candles, put on music, journal, do all that wonderful stuff. And that's how I justified it. And so I met this woman and she said, you know, I can see you're on a spiritual path. I can see you're trying really hard, but you're not going to go anywhere. I can see in your aura, you're a dope smoker. Your aura is weak and there's holes in it. And if you want to hold on to any energy, any sensitivity, any power to go farther on your journey, you're going to have to clean up your aura. I went, wow. Oh, well, I know. I look like Jerry Garcia with my hair and my big beard. And of course, she thinks I'm a dope smoker. Well, she could see it in my eyes too. I'm like, oh. So that was the last time. From that point forward, I never did drugs again. So why? Well, something resonated with what she had to say. And something within that inner guidance just went ka-ching. No more. She's right. And there was enough inner will or something that said, no more. And it wasn't hard. And after 6 months, I could feel a difference. I could hold more energy. I was much more sensitive. My smell, my appreciation for nature came back. My wonder returned in a different way. And I became sharper, just mentally sharper. So she was right. And in that, I started to realize, like in 12 step, you go back and you clean up the mess that you've made. And I took a look at where was I out in integrity, people that I've hurt, shoes that I've stolen, stuff that I took from the college. Can I clean that up? Yeah, of course I can. The shoe store was still in business. And I went back and I paid him. And the guy was amazed. He said, really? You can't? I said, yep. It's been on my mind and I want to clean it up. Will you take the money? Sure. And I went down to this college and I wrote them a check and I walked in and I said, this is what I've done. I'm cleaning it up. Will you accept my check? Yes, we will. There was power in that. Something returned to me, to return to my heart. It's like the scars that were there from not doing the right thing started to heal, started to soften, to disappear. It's like I got a second chance to do it right. Will I make more mistakes? Of course I'm going to. But I know the process. Making a mistake, clean it up. Because we know what's right and wrong. We know what's cruel and what's kind. So, what does that voice sound like? I know for me, it's never a demand. It doesn't say, hey, do this, except when it does. Most of the time, the voice is very, very silent, very, very quiet, just a whisper. It's almost like a little feeling, a little tickle of a hair that says, move this way or move that way, or to confirm, yes, you're right. A suggestion, an opportunity. Think about it this way. But it's never, you got to do this. So it's an invitation to do the right thing, to do what's appropriate. That's how it shows up for me. And there are times when I am moved by that inner force. Case, the first time I was aware of that was probably 10 years old, and down the street there was a fire. The house was on fire. And the wife, the mother, small, wispy gal, went under the house and pulled out this heavy extension ladder, comes running out with it, throws it up on the building. I was told this later, and climbed up and got her kid out of the burning building, came down, and there was no way, if you were to tell her, could she do that? She would say, of course not. I could never do that. But there it was. She didn't think about it. She didn't know that she couldn't do it. She did it. Just like that. Boom. And I know you've all heard stories of where the mother lifted the car off her son because you've heard those stories. What is that within us that rises to the occasion, that moves us in such a way? Does it come from outside of it? Does it come through us? Or is it us? Is it our connected us with everything? I think it's perhaps maybe lazy thinking to think that there is something outside there that's going to do it. Maybe it's us, and it doesn't even come through us. It is us, and we don't even realize how powerful we are. That we blame spirit for speaking us. Maybe it is us. Maybe we are spirit. And that's something that I can't speak to, really. I don't know. And so it's easy to say, oh, it's something else. It's something else. It's this or it's that. But maybe it truly is us. And so as that woman was moved by circumstances, by what was before us, something arose in that opportunity. I know each of you have done things that you perhaps didn't know was possible, that you were moved in the moment, that you didn't hesitate, that you reached in and grabbed something or did something, and it was the right thing to do, and it was perhaps very important that you did it and that you alone did it. So this is our guidance. This is our collective guidance. And where does that guidance come from? I think it comes from the trees and our conditioning, and it comes from our heredity, and it comes from our ancestors. It comes from a million different places. And it's all in that part of the brain that we don't know how it works, and we don't know that we can't use it. There's so much to us. There's so much that is much bigger than we imagine. And so, kind of wrapping this up, We know the right thing to do. We can feel it. We can feel it when it goes ka-chung. And there are people that also know it and don't do it. The Lance Armstrongs, the Donald Trumps that consistently lie when they don't even need to. Why not switch that? Because each of us on a daily basis has that opportunity. And I'm not talking, when he's talking about lies, I'm not talking about the lies when your wife asks, does this dress make me look fat? You know the answer to that. It's not really a lie. It's, oh, honey, you look great. You always look great. You don't answer. But we know. We know. And so moving forward, having heard a talk like this, asking yourself, how trustworthy am I to do the right thing? Have I made mistakes? Have you owned your mistakes? And can you vow to do better? It's as simple as that. How else would we learn? And so we got a quote from Michelle Obama. And she says, oh man, let's get it. We have learned about honesty and integrity, that truth does matter, that you don't play by your own set of rules, and success doesn't count unless you earn it fair and square. You know when you've earned something fair and square. Lance Armstrong didn't win it fair and square, and so he never got the satisfaction. Winning it fair and square and being in integrity, there is a satisfaction in a life well lived. Real integrity is doing the right thing even when nobody is looking. When nobody is looking and you still do the right thing. And so we do the right thing because down inside it feels right, and we will always know. So I leave you with this affirmation. Today, I renew trust in my inner guidance. I vow to act upon what I know to be true and kind. I allow that which moves all things to move me. And I invite the wisdom of this guidance into my life. And so it is.